Okay ra pud ang room. Dili saba ang Facebook ba? Kaning mag-create ka og room sa FB. Dili siya saba. Dili ingon nga mag oh, og pwede ra. Room, mag-create ka room. Mura mo siya og call. Call siya niya. Mo join ra sila sa call. Mo join sila sa call. Dili ra siya saba ba ya? Oh, karon. Oh, bintaha ra. Okay ra. Hi, morning everyone. Ay usa so far paabot na to ang uban ha. Shortly padayon ta karon. Ato ning bikwango ning magdungan ta og tuon sa kining maestro ninyo nagkasison na ba kanang tinapulan na gani dili mangandam na sa klase niya. Just this morning when I got up, I had coffee and thought of unsa kay ko klase karon. Ko pistol wala na mo ko andam presentation. So I went online. I found Yash Patel's presentation. It seems very relevant to what we are talking about. So we've spent so much time already on good morning Tanan ha, good morning Tanan. We've spent so much time already on that intro to meteorology. So I think by this time you already have a grasp of what we talked about. So this time, basically man lang good is I just want to show you nga uh, ang paingnan nato ini sa ato ang intro to ag-eng, although we will be talking about farm power and machinery later on. Ang paingnan nato is irrigation water. So important ang background sa meteorology, important ang background sa sources of water before we dig into irrigation water. Unsa man ang irrigation be? Based on what you can remember, be type a comment on the textbook definition without going online, ha, without googling it. Textbook definition of irrigation. Be, unsa man ang irrigation? Hala, sige. Comment your answers. Comment your shortest possible answer nga. Pwede use your own words or even textbook definition, bahala mo. What is irrigation? Okay, so knowing the delay, so I'll wait for that for a while. Like I said, again, usmuna ko ha, we talked about meteorology mainly to understand the concept of the weather, the atmosphere, nga also at the same time may source ato ang rainfall nga moadto sa land eventually nga mahimong source of irrigation water. So and that's the reason why naghisguta og meteorology, and this time we will be talking about sources of water for irrigation. So balikan sa nato ang textbook definition sa irrigation. How do you understand irrigation? Fourth year naman mo college students, you must have gone through this in your previous year. So what you can remember, di ba, kasabot ang patubig ug in English na to na sa may lain in English ana be. Waiting for your responses through your comments. Okay? Tingog Margarito, Angel May, Merly Rose, Angeline, who else? Kisa pa may na Jean Grace, Levy, si Jean Marie. Irrigation, kontrolado nga pagpatubig, source sa water, air. Okay, irrigation is the companion of water distribute to different parts of crops designation. Margarito, tarong nga mo in English tong labog ko ana dong da. Ingon si Merly Rose, the supply of water to land or crops to help growth, typically by means of channels. Actually, you are talking of the same thing, no? Eventually, maoro magyud gihapon eh. Source of water, sir. Unsa man kang levy sumpay. Source of water, irrigation. I don't think so. Dili. Daghan tang sources sa tubig, but magkuha tag tubig para irrigation. Ang source sa tubig is not irrigation. Okay? Unsa pa? Some more answers? Wala na line answers diha. Okay. Mainly, ang source sa tubig sa crops, okay, is actually ang precipitation. Now, precipitation can be any form. Diri sa ato agaray mo balik na po ko review day na actually napakoy unsingan ini alian artificial application of water to assist in the production of crops. Yeah, sakto gihapon. So basically ana no artificial siya nga application sa tubig kay ang natural is ang precipitation, which is actually rainfall. Rainfall. So rainfall normally ari lang ta sa Pilipinas kay di lang ta maghiskot dito sa ubang nasod nga doon na sila snow, doon na sila glacial water gani kato mga glacial melt nga gikan sa mga glaciers. Di lang nato to hisgutan if we talk about rainfall. Ang rainfall sometimes or most of the time, okay, moabot siya wrong timing, di ba? And in the wrong amounts. Irrigation is that artificial application of water normally to cover adtong parts nga kulang sa rainfall. So for example, nakay tanom na nga kinahanglan siya og in simple words lang, 1 liter of water every day. Every day ha, it needs 1 liter of water every day. It's okay kung muuwan og usa ka litro every day, but most of the time it doesn't work like that. So, kung walay ulan, sometimes muulan og 2 ka litro, sometimes walay ulan, sometimes tunga ra sa litro. Ang irrigation is the artificial application of water nga kulang sa rainfall. So kung karon walay ulan, mag-irrigate ka og 1 liter. The following day, naay ulan tunga sa litro, mag-irrigate ka og half a liter na lang. Kay the other half is already provided by rainfall. So, pagkasunod adlaw, nag-ulan og balik 2 ka litro, although dili ni mao ang unit sa to measure ulan or irrigation water, it's normally expressed in height of water. Okay? So, ngano nga height of water man? So, let me show you an illustration. Ngano height of water man? Normally man god, let me choose a brush. Sabi akong piliyon na niya. This one maybe thickness. How about that? Kini color. Okay. For example, kani siya. Diba? It's like a block of something. Okay, it's a block of something. And then, this is height. Bati akong brush. This is height. This is width. This is length. Diba? Volume is equals to the width times the length times the height. So you get a volume. Liter is in units of volume. Now, normally, ang ulan is wala tay container. So, kini, wala gi-express ang width ug ang length. Ang gi-express is kanilang siya ang height. So that's why you say millimeters of rainfall. So if you're talking about one whole municipality, you just multiply the height, okay, and the area, you get the volume of water. Does that make sense? So normally, i-express na to ang irrigation water application in terms of height, not in terms of liters. Ako lang gin-mention nga liters sa inyo kaganiya to simplify things. So normally, typical crops will need around 6 to 8 millimeters of water per day. 6 ngadto sa 8. This is millimeters of water. So that's height of water regardless of area. So, unsa man ang area karon? Sayo na lang na ang area. Unsa man ang area karon? Say for example, top view ta. This is dugayas miss sa comment ni Rachel na abot irrigation water ways to water the plants. Yes, sakto gyapon. Sorry, late ko gamay. Okay, it's okay. Artificial to assist production. Good morning again. Okay, padayon ta. Okay. Top view ta karon. For example, maghisko tag mais. This is one mais, another mais, another mais. Batian akong drawing ay. Another mais, another mais, another mais, another mais, another mais. Okay. X, it's just to indicate the location of your corn. Okay? So, usa ka hill na siya, another hill, another hill. You can think of this as the furrows. Ayan na, di ba? Okay, kuntahay lang, kuntahay lang. Hindi lang nato i-complicate ug maayo. Distance of planting nato diri to diri. Okay, that's 50 cm. Kuntahay lang. Dayon, diri, patubang diri, 50 cm pod. Okay? 50 cm pod. So, in between hills, tag 50 centimeters. Okay? Now, unsa may area nga gi-occupy ani nga corn? Kani. Ang iyang area is kutob dire. Diha. Tunga ra siya. Iyahan ni dire. Kini dire dapita nga area, iya na pod na. Kini pod, tunga pod sila dire. Ang dire nga part, iya na pod dire. Then this one, kini nga part, iyaha diha. Dire pod, tunga pod sila. Kini pod, tunga pod sila. So kung 50 by 50 ang distansya from here padong dinhi is 50, from here padong dito is 50, from here padong dire is 50, dinhi padong dito is 50. Therefore, gikan dire kutob dire, that's 25. Gikan dire padong dito 25 cm. Gikan dire padong dito 25 cm. Gikan dire padong dire is also 25 cm. So therefore, gikan dire 25, from here that's another 25, 50 by 50 gyapon. So kini di ay nga box is also 50 by 50. So pila may area nga gi-occupy sa usa ka tanom? That's 50 by 50. So 2,500. So 2,500 square centimeters. You multiply that one, or kung tahay, volume is equal to area times height. Mag-compute na ito pila ka litro. If one corn plant, one hill requires, say for example, 8 millimeters per day. So 8 millimeters nga height times the area nga 2,500, you will get a unit of volume. Okay? Imagine na ninyo ha. Walay palag so far. Walay palag so far. Okay? So nga na. So now, going back sa example. Kung going back sa ato ang crop nga example nga that requires 1 liter of water per day. So karon nag-ulan og good for 1 liter in that particular area. So you don't need to irrigate. Pagkasunod adlaw wala nag-ulan, you need to irrigate 1 liter. Pagkasunod adlaw nag-ulan, balig tunga ra sa litro, you need to irrigate half a liter. Pagkasunod adlaw nag-ulan, balig 2 ka litro, you don't need to irrigate. This time, you need drainage so that you will be draining the other 1 liter nga sobra. Okay? So, therefore, irrigation is the artificial application of water, okay, dito sa atong crops at the right amount and at the right time. Okay? Right amount at the right time. Ang sources of irrigation water, mao na ni atong hisgutan karon. So like I said, mainly ang source of water for crop growth and development is actually rainfall. But sometimes rainfall will not suffice para sa ato ang requirement, or it could be enough, however it comes in at the wrong time. 'Di ba? Malas-malas lang kung mag-ulan karon ikaw ug maulan na pod, ikasunod ug maulan na pod, then we don't need that much water. Ang problema og ting-init nga magkinahanglan tag tubig, wala na puy ulan buang-buang, 'di ba? And that's the reason why we talked about meteorology. We talked about different sources of water. So, ang punto nato ini is at the end of the day, we get to understand when to irrigate and how much to irrigate. Mo ni siya itong tuyo. Right now, ato sang gihinay-hinay og latag ang concept, ang background, the different sources of water, ngano man nga importante nga atong sabton pod ang concept sa meteorology, ang motions sa earth, ang seasons diri sa atua. Alright? Padayon ta. So kini ang atong presentation karon is made by Dara si Yash Patel, my new friend. So imbis nga maghimo og ko, ngupyan na lang ta, acknowledge lang nato sila properly. Okay, that's slide 1. Slide 2. Okay. Kamo na lay basa. I'll give you a few minutes to read this one. Pwedeng basahan ta mo dunganan ko ninyo. Water is a vital natural resource which forms the basis of all life. atik ra kay na kanang poetic kayo atong author si Patel, si Yash Patel. It is one of the marvelous gift to us, yates. 70% of the human body is water. Naagian din nato pag elementary na to, no? The bodies of all plants and animals contain water. It has been estimated that the total water contained on Earth is about 1385.5 times 10 to the power 6. Walay unit si Yash Patel. Murag cubic meter siguro na. That's time 10 to the power 6. That's a lot of water. Okay, 97% of water on the earth is salt water, money that we can find in our oceans. 3% is fresh. Then slightly over two-thirds of this is frozen in glaciers and polar ice caps. Unsa man ang glaciers? Okay. Ang glaciers, mo ni siyang mga ice covering gani sa high elevation nga mga bukid. Okay? Unya, ang glaciers pod mo anam-anam nig slide paubos inig ting summer. Unya mo ni nga mo ni mo create og reverse mo pud mo scrape sa land sa katong mga temperate areas ha. Eventually mo abot sa dagat mga tipak mo ni siya mahimong iceberg. Okay? So, two-thirds ana kuno is frozen in glaciers and polar ice caps. Then the remaining unfrozen fresh water is found groundwater pod tuwa pod sa ilawom sa yuta. So therefore, gamay na lang kaayo ang naa sa ground or naa sa air. Ang naapon sa air mostly in vapor form, so di gyapon na to magamit. So on the surface, 71% is covered by seas kuno. Remaining 29, of course, occupied by land. Fresh water is a renewable resource. Okay, di ay better nga representation. Okay? 90%, 97% of all water sa Earth is in oceans. Okay? So, ang 3% fresh water. Ang 3%, mo na ni ang 3%. Out of the 3%, it's broken down into ice caps and glaciers and groundwater and surface water. Unsa man ang surface water kanang naa sa rivers, sa lakes, mana siya, mga swamps. So, of the 3% sa total nga tubig, 68.7% of 3% is glaciers or ice caps. Then 30.1% groundwater. 30.1% of 3%. Then, surface water is 0.3 na lang percent of the 3%. Pating gamayan na lang. Napay others diha. Then, og atong padak-an na pod, exaggerate na pod na to, ang 0.3% of 3%, 87% of that is in lakes. Sa swamps, 11%, 12% of that. Pating gamayan na lang. So, this is fresh water. Okay? So, mainly, mao ni ang atong ginakuhaan og irrigation water og kana siyang for domestic water use sa balay, panglaba, pangligo, panginom. Sometimes we also grab water from this part here sa groundwater. Problem is ato paning bumbahon. Okay, ato pa ni siyang itap. Kay di man ni siya moditso og saka dito sa babaw. Groundwater gani ang tawag. Kay ito sa ilawom sa ground. No? Nasa babaw, surface water na. So, ang pinaka-ready, pinaka-dali, kanigid siya. Okay? Padayon. Surface water or groundwater. Mara, yarang gibuak ni Yash Patel. So, surface water, nasa lakes, ponds, streams, rivers, or storage reservoir. Then, groundwater, tube wells, artesian wells. So, gikan na siya sa ilawom sa yuta. Okay? Sometimes, ugikan sa yuta, ito'y padagan dito sa panda, maapil na din here, of course. Excuse me. Surface water is water on the surface of the planet, such as, gibalik kag istorya. Non-saline surface water is replenished by precipitation, manetang iskutan ka ganiha, and by recruitment from groundwater. Ang surface water kuno is replenished by precipitation and by recruitment from groundwater. O say recruitment, I think what he meant here is naman yung mga capillary movement eventually joining dito sa babaw or na mga artesian wells ng katong mga tasog pressure kabantay gid siguro mo sa inyo ang mga community sa Sahay, particularly sa Argao Central Elementary School ba. na ay tubig diha nga flowing kanang mga springs mo na siya gikan na siya sa groundwater girip mo join siya dito sa surface, so even kanang mga sapa, some sapa are actually fed by springs, so kanang mga tubod kanang mga gagmay-gagmay originally is coming from the ground na siya, then mo join siya dito sa surface. So mo na nga ang surface water kuno is replenished by precipitation or by recruitment from groundwater. So going back dito sa central, gipantok to siya o niya mas taas man og pressure mo na nga mo flow. Sometimes we just call it as flowing. Ang uban pod bumbahon kay dili man siya taas enough og pressure para mo flow siya over land ingana. So seepage into the ground where it becomes groundwater that's then used by plants for transpiration, extracted by mankind for agriculture, living industry, and so on. Kadaghanang storya. Transpiration, I think you're already familiar with the term transpiration. Normally, it is coupled with evaporation, so that's why it's called evapotranspiration. Next, picture na, kailan na ta na, groundwater. Gikan dito sa fracture sa rock. We're talking about sources of water ha, so mga ni examples. Hindi na ako napalauman, trabaho ni Yash Patel. Infiltration galleries. Maragi patubod rin kung gyapon eh. Okay. Tube wells, then open wells. Tabay, puro na ni wells na tanan. Oopsie. Uses of water. One, consumptive use or irrigation use. Domestic use or non-consumptive use. Lain na yung terms na gigamit da. Partial consumptive, it's consumed. There's actually a term in irrigation nga consumptive use is it's more or less equivalent to the evapotranspiration. Think of kabalo mo sa tong evapotranspiration. Please comment be how you understand evapotranspiration. Guys, tingog kuno gamay be unsa man ang evapotranspiration. We'll wait a little bit ha kay naay gamayng delay. So right now probably is nagpaminaw pa mo sa last few phrases nga akong gisgutan. Abtik kay mo respond karon. Pero on my end, I still do not see your comments, so naay delay. So in fact, what I'm saying right now is wa pa ni kagawas diha sa inyo nga end. Wala pa yung mga comments. Oopsie. I'm waiting for comments. Evapotranspiration. What is evapotranspiration? Okay, wala pa tingog so far. Walay pa. Paabot-paabot ko gamay ha. Paabot-paabot ko gamay. Paabot-paabot ko gamay. Diyan na. Si Margarito. Pag-sterilize sa water, ang water na hugaw, ila i-convert into clean water para ma-use. No, Margarito, that is not evapotranspiration. Okay? Siguro you are referring to desalination. Dili po siguro kuan. Desalination. Lahi na siya, murag sana to. Okay. Mary Grace. Birondo mingon is the sum of evaporation and plant transpiration from the Earth's land and ocean surface to the atmosphere. Yes, so it's the sum of evaporation and transpiration from plants. Pag evaporate sa water, sir, nga naa sa land, paingon sa atmosphere. So actually, kuyog ning kuan, evaporation or transpiration. Evapotranspiration is the sum of evaporation and plant transpiration from the earth's and land surface. Taas ra pud mo answer, oy. Jean Grace og si ngano pareha mo? Nag-Google pa mo kadiyot bay. Nya human gi copy paste sa ninyo. Bugoy kaayo mo. Kanto ganing kutob lang sa mahinumduman. Okay, si Jean Grace og si Mary Grace. Let me Google it kuno. Evapotranspiration. Mo na yung tagdugay po mo maka-answer. Wikipedia de ilang sources. Ay, tamo na nakanindot po. Eva is the sum of evaporation and transpiration from the Earth's land and ocean surface to the atmosphere. Bawaan na. Bawaan na. Water kono turning to gas, ingon si Gary. Okay. Kanang, yes, water turning to gas is sometimes termed vaporization or evaporation. Yeah, that's correct. Pero evapotranspiration, sakto ning Wikipedia source ni Jean Grace o ni Mary Grace. Wikipedia kayo ni siya, sum siya sa evaporation o transpiration. Kabalo na kayo ta siguro, we are very much familiar with evaporation. Transpiration, mao ni siyang evaporation nga gikan sa plant parts, particularly sa leaves. So sa stomata gyapon ni siya moagi. Okay? So it's named differently because it sort of follows a different process. Okay? Evaporation is to any surface, free surface sa tubig when heated enough, okay, ang top surface will break down into gas from liquid. Evaporation of water transpired. Yes, si Richelle, sakto. It breaks off from the surface and then it evaporates as gas. That's evaporation. But transpiration is mura siya og evaporation pero gikan siya sa dahon. Actually, ang prof dito sa Reading sa una, do not like to call it evapotranspiration. Niya pa, it's an ugly word. Para niya kuno, even transpiration kuno from the leaves of plants, it is still evaporation. So, para niya, he doesn't want to call it evapotranspiration. It's just evaporation lang daw. So, okay. Ang consumptive use, kanina makita niyo sa screen, is very similar to evapotranspiration. Okay. What happens here is, let's put it this way, think of a crop. Balik ta sa corn plant na to. Ang tubig is going out of the leaves sa corn plant, going out of the surface right beneath the corn plant. Okay? Ang tubig nga migawas gikan sa dahon o gikan sa yuta tungod sa corn plant is called evapotranspiration. Losses na siya. And that happens every day. Ang tubig nga atong i-replenish, okay? Ang tubig nga atong i-replenish para mapuli sa evapotranspiration is actually what we call the consumptive use. So consumptive use, nalay efficiency term nga atong i-multiply ana, og evapotranspiration in terms of value is more or less equal. Pero consumptive use in irrigation, the term is used as the amount of water that is required sa ato ang tanom to replenish what is lost by evapotranspiration. Okay? So think of evapotranspiration plus water used up by crops in its growth and development is equal to consumptive use. Na-imagine na ninyo? Pero dire, I don't know why it's using partial consumptive use. So basically, the use of water for other purposes gigamit sa tao. Okay? Other than irrigation. Kini pod gigamit gyapon sa tao other than irrigation. Our concern this time is only for irrigation. Bahala kung saan na nilang tubig uban basta ang irrigation lang ato. Next slide sa slides ni Yash Patel. So ang ato ang resource person karon si Yash Patel. Overuse of water. Do I need to cover this one? Rapid population growth and increasing water consumption and so on. Water disputes, Indian states. Okay, natubag na ang pangutana. Si Yash Patel is an Indian national. Turko din ni si Yash. Klaro ba itong Patel o yung apelido. Okay, next slide. Conservation of water, ay lang ni ha. Domestic conservation, ay lang ni. Industrial. Okay, this might be important for us. Improved methods of irrigation like drip irrigation and sprinkler irrigation para ma-conserve. Now, conservation is different from preservation. Preservation is not using it at all. Conservation is using it in a sustainable manner na magamit pa sa uban later on. Okay? Discourage ko ng conventional flooding. Ang perfect example of conventional flooding is kaning atong sa pilapilan. Okay? Avoiding excess irrigation, reducing losses from canals, then construction of structures. Okay? Next, rainwater harvesting ang mga concepts. So, as another source of water, so typically, ato ko nung, so far, unsa may ato ang different, you enumerate be. So far sa atong nagian, gipang sagol-sagol raman eh, let's try to break it down into different groups or binagsaw na to. Question, what are or enumerate the different sources of irrigation water? Okay? Sources of irrigation water. Please comment one at a time. Okay? Usa ka source. Oy, at a time. Thank you naman din yung sunod niya. Human na ta. Sige, i-comment palihog ang source of irrigation water. Give me one at a time lang. Sige. Start with, I'll wait for a while. Okay. 22 na ta. Oh, I thought nga mga mo lag lang tag around 10 or 12 ka mga tao. There are 22 of you this time. Springs. Okay. Unsa maning spring? Ang spring is bisayon na to tubod. Okay? Mo na siya spring. Yes, it could be used for irrigation water, but normally a spring irene is too small para pang irrigate. River. Now, collection of springs, okay, mahimo na siya nga river. Ang giingon ni Levy kay river. Okay. Rain, okay, sapa, pareha sa farm ni Sirigida. Uy, ang kanang sapa, baya, kanal naman gud siguro na. Ulan, ponds, groundwater from wells. Atong sasahon eh. Okay, ang spring, I think we're done with spring. Ang spring is kadtong mga buslot sa yuta nga naay tubig nga migawas. Tubod, kung bisayon. Normally, this is clean. Normally, this is potable. Rivers, on the other hand, pwede na to ni siyang bisayon og sapa or salog. Ang springs nga mga gagmay, okay, mag-abot na siya, mag-abot hangtod mahimo siya og river. Okay? So, ang rivers nag-abot-abot. Ang kanang spring nga gagmay, sometimes it's called mga tributaries paingon sa river. So, think of it as nagsanga-sanga hangtod mo abot siya sa main nga sanga. Mo na ng tubig nga mo drain eventually paingon dito sa dagat. Okay? Rain kuno. Source of irrigation water. I'd like to elaborate this one. Okay? Ingon si Margarito, rain. Ang rain, kung inighulog sa ulan, diretso na dito sa atong tanom, you are not irrigating at all. It's just rainfall, giving water to your crops. But, kung ang imuhang ulan, Okay, you try to collect it and store it, and then after storing it, imong i-apply as irrigation, then it can be used as a source of irrigation water. How will that happen? One way is, for example, I think nagian na po ninyo kadto ganing mga sloping agricultural land technology, kung tayo the use of contour rock walls, mga ingana. The use of small water impounding projects, katong sweep ba sa kilid. So mag-create ka og dam, inig ulan, mapundo ang tubig dito. And then kung wala na ulan, tuwa pa'y tubig. Since you still have the water, you can use that one for irrigation. So originally, the source of that water is actually rain. Next, si April, ingon siya sapa, pareha sa farm ni Higida. Sa farm ni Sir Regida is walay sapa din ha. Okay? I think what you're referring to, April, is ang na din ha are already irrigation canals. So ang naabot din ha. Pero originally, it's coming from the river, yes. Pero ang river, wala miagi sa iyahang farm. So, first is, ani man ni siya, ang irrigation, daghan mga irrigation, no? We will think first of surface irrigation. Naman tay surface irrigation, partly matakol na nato ni. Kaya ato ning detalyahon pag maayo, subayon tani nga by the book, by the numbers, dugay kita mahuman. So normally, magsugod tag sapa. Gikan sa sapa, sapa, salog, suba, river na siya tanan. Atong alihan gamay para musaka ang tubig, musaka ang level sa tubig. That's what we call as the dam. And then para musaka ang tubig, unya muliko ang tubig dito sa kanal nga dako. That kanal nga dako, we call that one the diversion canal. Okay, i-divert na to ang tubig. And then kana padong na sa ato ang areas, gitawag na to nga service areas nga for irrigation na. Okay? Mo na ang diversion canals. Dayon, ang kanang diversion canal mo na pinakadako, then sunod ana mo dito na siya ang conveyance nga structures, mo na siya magdala sa tubig paingon dito sa service area, and then mo pikas-pikas na pud na mo, gagmay-gagmay na pud, mahimo na pud ng distribution canals aniya human mga farm turnouts na. Okay, so kanang kanal nga miabot dito, those are among the irrigation canals lang. So, originally, ang sapa mo is source, but pag abot dito, kanal na lang to. Nagikan sa sapa. Water from wells. Ang daghan po ni ingon si Daphne, groundwater from wells. Yes, pwede po ni siya irrigate na to. Ang groundwater from wells, daghan na klase nga wells na ay shallow tube wells, doon na po tayo mga deep wells. Okay, ang mga shallow wells, anything less than 40 meters from the ground surface, it's classified as shallow wells. Mabaw ra na, 40 meters. Mana siya sa definition sa agang, ang 40 meters or less is shallow na siya. Deeper than that, that's deep wells na siya. Okay, how do we get water from wells? Okay, ang pagkuha sa water sa wells, sometimes, basta malibanda, pwede siyang tabay. In fact, ang tabay is still a well. It's called an artesian well. But mostly, ang gitap nato, if we talk about tabay or artesian well, it's just the groundwater. Sometimes we try to hit the katong mas lalong pagyud nga mga formation sa tubig, water from aquifers. Okay, napagyud tayo lain nga term, aquifer, para ma-look up ninyo later. Akong i-type sa diha para makita ninyo an aquifer. So groundwater, daghan na kay answer, no? Ulan, ponds, groundwater from wells. Dito na ponds. Ang pond is typically, ang musul sa kung hunahuna, ingon sa Angel May, ponds. Typically, what comes to mind if we talk about ponds is these are artificial. So ato nang ang pond is like gipunduhan lang na siya tubig. Okay, so either it's used as a reservoir or it's used for other purposes, like for example raising of isda or prawn or katong pasayan ba or whatever, na siya sa pond. Okay, pero dili ingon nga ang pond mo produce og tubig. Okay, so normally ang source ana is somewhere else, like we get that one from maybe rivers, maybe from groundwater, or maybe from rain. Ang pond is just it's basically just a reservoir. Ulan, natakol ko na ni ganiha, ingon si Rose G. Si Lai G, ingon siya groundwater, natakol na po ako partly. yeah, lakes pod natakol na pod din. Ang lakes is surface water. When we say lakes manggod, mura ra po ni siyang pan pero mas dagko. Ang main source sa tubig sa lakes is actually from rainfall lang yapon. Yeah, we can still we can get irrigation water from lakes. Ponds na natakol na nato. Municipal water. Samuel, what do you mean exactly by municipal water? Ang nasud kung huna nga municipal water is kanang part sa dagat nga gikan sa baybayon hangtod 15 kilometros dito paingon sa laod mo na siya gitawag nga municipal waters. So I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. Groundwater lakes, rivers, and streams. Ingon si Jean Marie. Covered na. Sprinkler irrigation. Gary, ang sprinkler irrigation is a method of water application. It's not a source of water. Okay? So it's a method of applying water dito sa field. Dili siya source. Nino River na cover na dams. Okay? Ang dams, ingon si Mark, si Jark. Tino ni panganin mo dong? Jark. Ang dam is kanto ni siyang gibalabag nato sa river para mo pundo og tubig. So mahitabo ang river mura na pud siya og lake kay sirado naman. So mo na siya dam. So actually ang source nato sa tubig is not the dam but it's the river nga gibutangan og dam. So ang dam there is just used to increase the level of water para lang ma-storage. Lake, ingon si Rizal, na-covered na lakes. Water dam, na-cover na pod. Yeah, Saldona, mapay pag-abot. Mapay pagtingaw. Okay. So, pag thank you pod mo ni Yash Patel. Oy, si Yash Patel atong author ani nga slide. Okay? So, sunod semana na padatira or padayon ta? Pila man mo ka book this time? 21. O kanilang sa ito. Then I will give you another activity og di ko makalimot. Kanilang sa kapoy sig yaw-yaw. So next is I'll be talking about the hydrologic cycle na pod. Okay? So I'll give you a few minutes to answer some questions ug doon na mo questions. I know there's a delay, but please comment lang inyong questions. Okay? Ito daghanon kaon na tag mga 40 minutes na. Sakto na. Questions? Anyone? Questions. Any questions? Walay question. Yan si Irene. Okay, sir. Thank you. All right. Thank you, guys. Biyaan na mo ha. Okay, so I'm ending this video. Please inform the others about this so they can watch this one later. Mag-replay lang usa ko later. Medyo ako ka-focus. That's okay. I do understand. Unaha ang Mojo's Levy. Sige, bye-bye guys. See you next week na pod. I will be posting soon another task ninyo. If not, okay ra pod. Depende strip na ko. Alright, bye-bye. See you next week.